A rental assistance program in Duluth has been paused for almost a year now, and it's left thousands sitting on a wait list with many not even able to get on it.
Yeah, Northern News Now, Sophia Lauber heard from leaders at Duluth's HRA today about their growing needs since this change. And Sophia, what's at play here?
Laura and Dan, this issue is part of a larger trend leading to higher rates of homelessness here in Duluth. Rent is increasing while incomes aren't. In the case of this program, local leaders say federal funding isn't keeping up with the greater need. When wait times for rent vouchers in Duluth reached 24 months last year, the Duluth HRA had no choice but to close their wait list.
It's hard on the HRA, it's hard on people that are waiting for housing, that need that assistance, that need that housing stability.
Through Section 8 or the Housing Choice Voucher program, qualifying households pay 30% of their income toward their rent and receive a voucher for the rest. HRA Executive Director Jill Keppers says due to climbing rent prices and stagnant wages, the cost of each voucher has been on the rise.
And so as that continues to go up, the amount of money that the federal government gives us supports less families.
As the program remains frozen, recent rental assistance efforts at the state level have also fallen short.
There seems to be a lot of bipartisan support on how we try to address housing, and that we should address housing, but the challenges come in finding that agreement right now and where and how we're going to fund it.
Duluth State Rep Pete Johnson, a DFLer, remains hopeful housing and zoning legislation on the table will move forward, targeting the supply side of the equation.
To help increase the density so that we do have those houses available long-term or those places for folks to live long-term.
Meanwhile, 4,000 households in the Duluth area continue to sit on the paused Section 8 wait list. And even as the HRA says it could reopen soon, leaders warn families to prepare for continued long wait times.
And that's not going to change unless we saw a really big increase in the allocation of funding that would come from HUD.
In recent months, the federal government has passed new funding for the Section 8 program. Now, the Duluth HRA is just waiting for the green light to open the list back up again. Live in studio, Sophia Lauber, Northern News Now.